let's get right into it.
A perfect shot.
Please, as always, go like, comment, and subscribe to Dr. Bob. We're making some amazing and great content, my dudes. Play the video. Go! Go!
A perfect shot. The
Body
photographer
horror
holds up his
statue!
camera,
Yo,
focusing
am
on
I
the
gonna have to put a
deer.
warning on this one?
Then the creature turns and stares down the photographer
Deer!
with the face
Deer!
of a human man.
That's not the deer.
A long, elegant neck
Deer I
ended
ever
in a
seen?
mutated abomination. The photographer drops the camera and runs away screaming. He won't be coming
Okay, hold
back
on.
to get it.
Don't drop the camera like that.
New one.
That's
A woman is
a pricey camera. You know, like, what kind of camera is that? A Canon? Is that a Nikon? What kind of camera is that? That's a pricey camera, bro. I don't know about that. You know, like, I'd be scared too, but I don't know if I'm gonna drop my camera like that. You know, Chaos has some camera. He likes cameras, and those things are prized. Ooh, bro, I don't even touch his camera. I don't even look at his cameras the wrong way, bro. I'm too scared of
walking her dog along the dirt road she's walked down every day for several years. It winds alongside a dense forest and past several large plots of land. Some are occupied by farms, some have been left abandoned.
I didn't know.
It's a pleasant walk, one she can always count on to be as quiet and peaceful as it is stimulating for her dog, with plenty to look at and smell. Occasionally he gets distracted by a wild animal, but the odd squirrel or possum is nothing the dog hasn't seen before, and she can quickly get him back on the path with a whistle and a tug of his leash. As the two of them near a familiar bend toward the halfway point of the walk, she can't help but notice that something seems off about the dog's behavior today. His steps are anxious, and his hackles are up. He keeps sniffing the air, tugging at the leash, whining insistently.
His eyes look like they're about to explode out of his eyes!
She soothes the dog, promising him that there's nothing over there.
Oh no, my eyes exploded out of my eyes!
A low growl rumbling in his chest
is
an abandoned farm.
But this keyboard, which Chaos lovingly donated to your boy here, is amazing, but it also double clicks every single time.
No one's been over there for years, but no matter what she does, he keeps staring at that abandoned farm in the distance. Suddenly, there's a rustling sound, some sort of unseen animal moving through the bushes toward the farm. The noise sets the dog off, and he jolts in its direction, yanking so hard and so abruptly on the leash that it flies out of his owner's hand. Free to pursue whatever had been aggravating him so much.
This is why you buy a chain! This is why you buy a chain! Even if it makes your dog look intimidating, you buy a chain, not these, like, faux leather BS, freaking acrylic, whatever stuff.
The dog tears off toward the abandoned farm.
Nylon, not acrylic.
The woman chases after him, desperate to catch her beloved pet before he gets himself attacked by a wild animal.
I'm not saying get nylon. I'm saying what I meant to say was nylon, not acrylic. I don't think they make acrylic leashes.
Or worse. She sprints after the dog for half a mile until they've passed the ruins of an old barn and reached a horse paddock that seems to be in surprisingly good condition. As the woman catches her breath, she spots a sign she'd never noticed before on the road. It reads, "The Miracle Farm." The paint is unchipped, vivid, even fresh. This doesn't look abandoned.
Just remembered the intro. I don't think it's gonna be a nice place.
Her dog barks sharply, and she follows the sound. There he is, crouched low to the ground, shaking and barking at a pair of horses. Wait. No, those aren't horses.
Yo.
They have the hooves, the haunches, the tails, but their upper bodies are all human torso, arms, head, and face. It shouldn't be possible. But her dog is barking at what appears to be a pair of centaurs. She grabs hold of his leash, urging him back from the strange beasts. As she backs away, she hears a sound behind her, like a person imitating the crow of a rooster. She spins around and sees a wide-eyed man with a bright red wattle on his face, feathers jutting out of his neck. He crows again, then stoops to peck at the ground. Just behind the rooster man, she sees even more impossible human-animal hybrids. Rotund, pink-fleshed children with pig noses roll in a puddle of mud. A woman coiled up on a rock stares straight ahead, forked tongue flitting in and out of her mouth as she hisses. This place isn't abandoned after all. There is still a farm here, but it's no ordinary farm. The woman scoops her dog, a completely ordinary non-human dog, into her arms and sprints back toward the dirt road. She keeps going, running all the way home until she can get to a phone, and immediately calls the authorities. The first few people she speaks to laugh at her, accusing her of making a prank call, but one man takes her seriously and records her report. Then he passes it on to his friends at the SCP Foundation. They conduct a raid of the Miracle Farm and find that it is just as bizarre as the woman described. They uncover files in their office detailing that the property once belonged to Marshall, Carter, and Dark Limited before its own.
I've heard bad things about those guys.
Ownership passed to a private company that specializes in the finest in custom-ordered pets, prey, and companions. Mobile Task Force Theta 2, Moreau's morgue, is deployed to the scene, where they bring all on-hand personnel, clients, and living specimens into custody. Personnel and clients are questioned, then given Class A amnestics and released. The specimens are contained for further study, and the facility is destroyed. But not before the MTF discovers a curious marble statue acting as a fountainhead, providing all drinking water for the animal-human hybrids on site. The statue, depicting the Roman goddess Venus, allows water to flow out of its mouth when pumped in through the base. Somehow, water flowing through it is causing ordinary animals to transform into these bizarre creations. But how? Before we tell you, first, I have a question directly for you. Causing site is destroyed and into custody. Personnel and clients are questioned, then given Class A amnestics and released. The specimens are contained for further study, and the facility is destroyed. But not before the MTF discovers a curious marble statue acting as a fountainhead, providing all drinking water for the animal-human hybrids on site. The statue, depicting the Roman goddess Venus, allows water to flow out of its mouth when pumped in through the base.
I assumed it was going to be like they like spliced together the people with the animals. But what were these normal animals that started growing human appendages?
Somehow, water flowing through it is causing ordinary animals to transform into these bizarre creations. But how? Before we tell you, first, I have a question directly for you. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless.
Yes! Myself. I am my own worst enemy. I wake up every morning and I say, look at how gorgeous that man is. Oh, you don't even have to do anything today. What? Effort? Why put in effort into life when you're already a perfect human being? Like every freaking morning I say it to myself. And you know what? I feel like that's starting to get in the way of me like accomplishing things because like, what's the point in accomplishing things when you know you're already perfect, you know? But I figure maybe I should humble myself just a little bit, you know, not for your sake, not for my sake, well, obviously, you know, because why would I need, you know, but for your sake, you guys obviously, you know, more humble. Like you can't build a community around like a douchey VTuber. I gotta be more humble. You feel me?
Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in this world who's going through a hard time, therapy can give you tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible, and this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp.com/Dr. Bob. Clicking that link helps support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost, without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit.
Find someone you meld with. You feel me? But also, please be careful. The amount of people that fall in love with a therapist can be a little scary.
BetterHelp.com/Dr. Bob. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel.
Totally
and now back to the strange marble statue. The fountain is quickly removed from the area.
I only bring it up because one time I happened to have a chat with one of my therapists, and she freaking would tell me about stuff like that. I was just like, you know, I just would talk about like yeah, like what was the job? Like what's the what is it? And she talks about how it's like, yeah, that's like one of the only things, because one of the things I would talk about is like you know, sometimes I would talk to my therapists about like the YouTube thing and how I'm like, you know, one of those things that I'm scared of is having too much of a parasocial relationship with my audience and stuff. And I'm like, I don't think, and of course I was at first I'm like, yeah, I don't think that would ever happen really with me. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like that wouldn't really happen with me. I feel like people wouldn't really connect with me that closely or that you know what I mean? Like I was just sort of thinking that, and you know that's what sort of the conversation was going there, and she brought up like, oh no, parasocial relationships can really, like, they can be very difficult things to handle. It's one of those things that therapists have to worry about too. You know, parasocial relationships can build with their clients, yada yada. And I'm like, oh, that's true. And I'm like, so it's very interesting that he brings up that like connection. Yeah, no, it is totally a real thing. And I'm like, oh, cool. So it's kind of cool to be able to like discuss that kind of stuff with a therapist. If you are a streamer, if you're a content creator, and you sort of like struggle with some of that kind of stuff, a therapist can really help out. Like, you can find a lot of common ground when it comes to the whole socializing aspect. Sort of your the way you communicate with your community, so to speak. You know, I don't know. I am talking too much. Get therapy or don't. You know, be healthy. Be healthy.
The foundation for further study. And that is the story of how the SCP Foundation got its hands on SCP-1575. As is frequently the case at the SCP Foundation, the research team quickly began conducting controlled experiments using SCP-1575. They exposed a variety of animal test subjects to water that had passed through the fountainhead. I combed through the test logs I was able to access and have compiled some of the most relevant...
He specifies water that passes through the fountainhead. Is that what makes it magic?
...relevant examples of the anomaly's effects on various subjects. I must warn you that some of the imagery contained within may be a bit disturbing, even by SCP Foundation standards. I admit that a few of them turned my significantly desensitized stomach, but still, they fascinate me. And like a train wreck in slow motion, I haven't been able to look away. Test 15...
I've seen a lot of messed up movies. You're building this up too much. Chill.
575-2 was performed on a female Japanese field mouse, Apodemus argenteus, at the adolescent stage of development. After several weeks of exposure to SCP-1575-1, the mouse began to rapidly increase in size. Over the course of 12 days, the mouse grew to a height of 1.01 meters, a 500% increase in overall body size. As the mouse began to grow, her fur falling out and being replaced with smooth, human skin, her face warping into that of a young human woman, her appetite increased drastically. She was provided a standard field mouse diet of fruits, berries, and nuts, and consumed nearly 95% of her body weight at a given time in this provided food.
Ew!
By the 12th day of her mutation, the mouse's heart was unable to support her rapidly growing body, and it gave out. She died.
Oh, so it doesn't even, like, do a good job at it. It just makes the transformation happen. It's not even good at its job.
Due to failure of her cardiovascular system, leaving behind an eerie half-mouse, half-human creature with a vestigial tail, partially transformed paws, and gray-tinged skin where her fur had once been.
No, wait,
Test 1575-4's subject was a pre-adolescent male white-tailed deer, Otocoileus virginianus. The deer began to mutate fairly quickly following exposure to the water, and its initial steps were an alarming sight, to say the least. He began to suffer severe hemorrhaging in the pelvic area as his reproductive organs atrophied. By the end of the mutation cycle, they had disappeared entirely, leaving a smooth, fleshy surface behind.
It has no body!
Several male researchers in attendance had to leave the room during the initial bleeding, and one asked to be referred to an on-site counselor regarding a persistent, recurring nightmare inspired by the mutation. The deer's arms and legs changed into human arms and legs, hooves into hands and feet. By the end of the process, which stabilized after 30 days, the deer had become an androgynous-looking Eastern Seaboard Native American person. The only remaining indicators that this had once been something
and the fountain's racist. Nice.
Other than
you
human,
make the deer Native
were a tail and
would.
antler nubs resembling those characteristic of yearling bucks. After testing the anomaly on prey animals, the researchers decided to explore its effects on a predator. The subject of Test 1575-6 was an adult female Bengal tiger, Panthera tigris tigris. Naturally,
I wonder. I'm joking. Of course they're going to be transformed into something from the region they come from. Relax, Twitter.
There were
Relax,
concerns
Twitter.
about the safety of researchers, given the subject's aggressive nature. To prevent any accidental injury or death, she was kept sedated for the duration of any hands-on examination. Unfortunately, the application of these sedatives had a negative impact
I'm sorry, director. But I absolutely needed to be a tiger for this experiment. If it's not a tiger, I'm not gonna get accurate results. It needs to be a freaking tiger, okay? Look, we'll drug it. Pick any other animal, dude.
on the tiger's health
Even
during the mutation
a
process.
lynx?
After 4
That's a
days,
wild
before
cat,
any
come on.
dramatic visible transformation had even taken place, the tiger experienced failure of the heart, liver, and kidneys. Though this experiment was largely regarded as a failure, it provided the team with a vital piece of information. Sedatives should not be used on test subjects until they were further along in their transformation and at least 80% stabilized. After the
Congratulations, SCP Foundation. You figured it out. Don't give drugs to a freaking cat.
tiger, the research team pivoted to the least
Wow.
threatening version
How
of a
many
similar
millions
animal,
do you think it took
an
them to figure
adolescent
that piece
female
out?
domestic cat, Felis catus. The transformation occurred without incident over the course of 30 days. It
Oh,
was
what do you know? Another cat. Oh, crazy. This one you don't even got a drug.
described as unsettling to watch, especially coupled with the pained yowls of the subject, which slowly
Pain?
transformed into the screams of a young woman. But the subject survived the process. Her body stretched and contorted,
painful?
claws turned to long, pointed fingernails, whiskers fell out,
So
and
it's
fur
just
was
shouting
completely
in pain
shed.
the whole time.
By the time her transformation was complete, there was a young woman in the containment chamber, crawling around on all fours and batting at particles of dust. She retained her tail, the aforementioned pointed nails, and eyes with the same vertical slit pupils she had
But
as
was
a
it just
feline.
a feline brain?
She spoke several times, but only to request additional food. After testing on a cat, the next natural step
But it
was to
grows a
test the
brain.
anomaly on a dog.
Well,
For
it
test
gains human capacity as a brain,
1575-9,
but
the
still
subject
only
was an adult female domestic
keeps
canine,
its, like, existence
Canis
as a
lupus
cat, I
familiaris,
guess?
of mixed breed. At this
I
point
guess.
in
I
time,
wonder
it was
if you
believed that the
continue to
fountainhead
drink
had
water,
no anomalous effect on
all the
invertebrates.
feline features
Fortunately,
do all the
this
animal
experiment
features go
proved
away.
otherwise.
Completely.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. The dog
What
was
happened to the
exposed
human
to the
drinks out of
anomalous water, and dramatic signs of mutation soon began to show. First, the dog began shedding all of its fur. At this point, the researchers got an unfortunate look at something that had been hiding in the dog's coat, an infestation of fleas, which were beginning to transform as well.
No.
The fleas had quadrupled in size and were continuing to grow.
They're gonna.
Even more horrifying, their legs had
fingers!
changed into appendages resembling human fingers, and their features rearranged into a nightmarish facsimile of a human face, blood pouring from their open mouths. Unfortunately for the test subject and any researchers present, the fleas were not the only parasite that had infested this dog. On the 6th day of the experiment, the slowly mutating dog collapsed on her side, breathing heavily, exhibiting intense
Don't tell me it
discomfort.
had worms.
Her abdomen began to distend, and nearby
It
researchers could see
did!
something wriggling just beneath the skin. The motion became more violent, and the abdomen distended further and
Why
further,
wouldn't you
as if
test
the dog was
over
progressing through the
these things?
stages
What
of
kind
pregnancy at an
scientists are
advanced
you?
rate. One of the researchers made an anxious comment about being reminded of a particular scene from the movie Alien and was
Oh,
admonished
you
for it.
Sith bastard.
But he was quickly proven right, because with a sudden burst, a tapeworm with the face of a man erupted through the skin,
Why does it look like something that would be
screaming
in
at
Rick
the
and
top of
Morty?
its lungs, eyes rolling wildly in its sockets. One researcher vomited, another fainted. The experiment was swiftly aborted, and testing procedures were updated to include a specification
with that,
all
you
subjects
had to
must
use
be
that
examined for
word.
parasites prior to any exposure to SCP-1575. None of the mutated creatures survived this test. The dog test was a
even the
colossal
cat lady
failure on
died.
many counts, but it inspired the research team to continue testing on non-mammals, not invertebrates. No one wanted to go down that road again, but other animals at least. For test 1575-12, the subject was a pre-adolescent female hyacinth macaw,
What happens
Anodorhynchus
if a human drinks out of
hyacintinus.
it, though?
The parrot swiftly began to change, and the sound of agonized caws filled the room, along with a sickening snapping sound.
To the
After a
Foundation
moment,
just
the
putting,
sound was
just torturing all
identified
these
as
animals,
breaking
dude.
bones. The rest of the bird's body, particularly the muscles and organs, were transforming at a faster pace than the skeleton. The body contorted painfully, and the wings began to split, forming into rudimentary fingers and hands. But the transformation never finished, never stabilized. After 20 days, the macaw was dead, and the cause of death was determined to be internal injuries due to these extensive bone fractures. The subject of test 1575-13 was an adult female leopard gecko, Leopharus macularis. The transformation occurred at an accelerated rate, and within 1 week, the lizard had grown to a height of approximately 4 feet and displayed many human characteristics, including human legs and feet, a face, and a full head of hair. The hands remained unchanged, though they were larger, and the specimen was still capable of climbing up walls, much like an ordinary gecko. At the 10-day mark, the subject experienced catastrophic organ failure as a result of the mutation and expired. One more test on an invertebrate was conducted, this time deliberately. For test 1575-14, the subject was a female common green grasshopper, Homocestus viridulus. As the mutation began, the grasshopper began to shed its exoskeleton in a process best described as flesh forcing its way out of a casing, breaking the exoskeleton into pieces. What was left following this shedding process was a creature resembling the same grasshopper, but 3 times larger and covered in human skin. It continued to grow, but no further human features seemed to develop. After 15 days, it expired. An autopsy revealed the development of human organs inside, including a heart, lungs, kidneys, and liver. The cause of death could not be determined, but the transformation process is thought to have made the subject incompatible with life. The subject of test 1575-15
was twisted. Why did that one not change its overall shape?
An adult female grizzly bear, Ursus arctos horribilis. During the first 29 days of her mutation, the bear did not consume any food or drink aside from SCP-1575-1. Still, she did not appear to experience any hunger or discomfort aside from the pain of the transformation itself. Her body slowly shrank over the course of 30 days, her fur thinning until it left only the ordinary amount of body hair for an average human woman. Notably, the hair was the same color as the fur she had once had. She retained her bear paws, which appeared to be uncomfortably heavy at the ends of her new human arms. Throughout the transformation, stool samples taken from the subject showed excessive amounts of organic matter, such as blood and fatty deposits. After 32 days, the mutation was complete. The former bear's condition was stable. She did not speak. Instead, she used her newly transformed mouth and voice to grunt and roar. It was much less
intimidating. So how come the bear can't talk but the cat can?
Coming out of her human mouth, but researchers noted that her paws and claws were still dangerous and should be avoided.
No, like the last thing you need is for her to still have the strength of a bear, because that's just one swipe and you're just split open, dude. Bears
of test 1575-16 was an adolescent female gravy zebra,
they can
also
deal a lot
imperial
of damage.
zebra,
Even Bill Swift is
Equus
not going to be able to help you with that one, G.
Over the course of 27 days, the zebra's main body, hind legs, and most of her head mutated into a human, resembling the appearance of a person native to Africa.
I'm not going to make the obvious.
However, her front legs and jaw structure remained that of a zebra. The transformation stabilized, leaving her in this half-changed state.
I'm not going to say
she was unable to move without pain, unable to eat, and exhibited extreme distress at her state of existence. When she attempted to walk, she would lose her balance and topple over, lying on the ground in agony. It is uncertain what caused the transformation to halt at such an incomplete stage, but the subject's quality of life had been all but destroyed. After a thorough physical examination, the half-transformed zebra specimen was euthanized as a humane measure. As disturbing as the results of the Foundation's tests using SCP-1575 were, they allowed for a more thorough understanding of the anomaly and how it operates. The statue, which was studied extensively, shows no anomalous properties on its own, nor do any samples taken of the marble throw up any red flags. It appeared to be a completely ordinary statue, except for the effect that it has on any water that flows through it. This water, or SCP-1575-1, begins to show its anomalous true colors when consumed by a non-human mammal. Non-human mammals who consume 0.5 or more liters of this water per day 75 any red flags. It appeared to be a completely ordinary statue, except for the effect that it has on any water that flows through it. This water, or SCP-1575-1, begins to show its anomalous true colors when consumed by a non-human mammal. Non-human mammals who consume 0.5 or more liters of this water per day will begin to mutate over the course of a month. Perplexingly, impossible, they will mutate into a human being. During the experiments, it was noted that the ethnicity of the resulting human seems to correspond with the humans native to the natural habitat of the pre-transformation mammal.
Okay, see,
a European deer displays Caucasian features, for example, while a North American deer resembles a Native American. Domestic dogs and cats have ethnically ambiguous features or appear mixed race, likely due to the mixed backgrounds
but there's deers all over the place too, so wouldn't it be ambiguous? I don't know.
Of their species.
What about a
Many
cow?
of the survivors of this process develop vocal cords and are able to speak about their experiences, but their odds of surviving are not great. Female specimens have about a 25% fatality rate. Males have a staggering fatality rate of about 95%. There is a 40% chance that the transformed animal, regardless of sex, will keep at least one premutation feature. These include, but are not limited to, paws, tails, ears, and fur. Across the board, those who survive the mutation process describe it as extremely painful. Though these transformed animals can communicate, they tend to display an intelligence level that aligns with their prior species. There are a few exceptions to this, as some subjects have displayed heightened problem-solving skills, but it is uncertain what exactly caused this shift.
I think I will turn Mexican.
Proposed causes include neural restructuring during mutation, or an unintended byproduct of the Foundation testing itself. These transformed instances do not magically become human in behavior, personality, or habits. They retain their animal instincts, memories, and sense of self. Give or take some added depression or anxiety brought on by the traumatic and drastic changes they've endured.
I would be from,
Humans exposed to this anomalous water do not seem to change at all, which makes a degree of sense.
I said Mexican as
if the water serves to transform mammals into human beings, and the human drinking it...
Which one would turn me... Freak, this is what I hate. See, it's like, what, Latino? Hispanic? I don't even know anymore. Latino. Which one would turn Latino?
Has nothing for the water to change.
We're so mixed.
Still, I wouldn't
Native
suggest
Americans.
drinking it. Tap water may not taste great, but
Spaniards.
it's far less likely to mutate you.
We'll
SCP-1575 is currently held in a 6 meter by 6 meter by 4 meter containment chamber at Biosite 23, with direct access to Research Laboratory 3 at the same site. Unless it is actively in use for an approved test, no water may be allowed into SCP-1575's containment. After testing has concluded, all water used during the test is to be held in quarantine and may only be used for further tests. At the time of my reading, I discovered one addendum added to the file for SCP-1575 by a doctor assigned to the anomaly. It reads, "Following the incident on the 12th of this month, during test 1575-9, any animal to be used in testing with SCP-1575 is to be thoroughly examined for both external and internal parasites."
What?
Our initial beliefs that SCP-1575-1 only affected the primary host has proven wrong. It apparently retains its mutagenic properties, even when ingested secondarily through the host's lower GI tract or bloodstream. We absolutely do not need another instance of half-mutated flea creatures, and the psychologist is having a hard time helping Janet with her nightmares of a 7-foot-long tapeworm with a screaming face tearing out of the belly of a dog. I fear that Janet and I may have those nightmares in common. This imagery will stay with me for quite some time. When it comes to drinking water from mysterious fountains, proceed with caution, my friends. Sure, this particular fountainhead may not trigger mutation in humans, but that doesn't mean it's the only one of its kind out there. Drink from the wrong water spout, you may find yourself changed, and no one, including me, can predict what you might become. Check out the Dr. Bob Patreon and become a junior researcher today. Now go and watch another entry from the files of Dr. Bob, like SCP-5019, Loopy Lily.
Great freaking video, Dr. Bob. Amazing! Ayoo, be sure to join the crew. Please like, follow, and subscribe. And hey, if you like that video, you should check out this stuff.